Hi everyone, welcome to We Now Hubs, Empowered Women Empower Women. Uh, Today I have a guest from Netherlands, and she is a storyteller, a corporate lawyer, and a toxic relationship recovery expert. I have known she's Sandra and she's written a book recently. Do not try him at home. Right? It's a book about abuse, relationship abuse. And I have known Sandra for a while now. And let's talk to her, and she will tell us about her journey to reaching this book that she published, this book that she's writing. She's not published, right?
It's not published yet. Good afternoon or morning or wherever you
Yeah,
are, as you
hi
got it
Sandra.
when you got the
Welcome.
interview. We
It's
are on
not,
different in
yeah,
different time zones. It's afternoon
yeah.
where I am now in Europe, and you are in
I
evening
am in
time already.
Malaysia, so it's 8 o'clock here right now.
So it's a true honor to be here and to be able to speak about my journey and about my mission from a holiday home in Spain. This is not my regular home. It would be lovely if it were. I live in the Netherlands, a much sort of colder climate than I'm encountering here now in Spain.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding all the restrictions, we decided to dare to go on this holiday that we already booked last year.
Yeah.
And it's been a joy so far. So that is why I have this beautiful exotic background with the beautiful flowers. Um, and notwithstanding what I'm going to share with you about my journey, I'm now in a very good place, in a very solid relationship, in a blended family, which I always refer to as a sort of also shaken and stirred at times. But it
Mm.
doesn't compare to where I've been, my life story, which I've now finally dared to put in writing, and which will be published on the 18th of September. So it's a busy time, it's an exciting time, and also it still scares me a bit. I think that for all of us, if you've encountered a story with any kind of abuse attached, and unless we all know it happens to so many women, and as I want to point out, it also happens to men. As I'm a straight woman who had relationship with straight men, the book is called "Do Not Try Him at Home," but there are same-sex relationships. There are toxic women as much as there are toxic men of any walk of life, of any nationality, of any age, of any color. So I I feel as much for any person who has had to endure abuse, notwithstanding who you are. But this is my story as a woman with men. So that's why I named it "Do Not Try Him at Home." Um, the
Would
book
you like
is
to
about,
tell a bit more about your story before we
yes,
go into the book and why you
yeah.
wrote the book? So, what has your story been like with in toxic relationships? I, like you mentioned, you've been in multiple toxic relationships, and that's the reason you decided to write the book. But why? I mean, what is your purpose? What is your mission for getting this book out? What do
My
you?
mission
Yeah.
My mission ultimately, I mean, I think most of us, because I think your audience, there is a lot of female
Mm.
entrepreneurs. And I
Yeah.
think that anybody who has worked with either a business coach or a branding coach or a marketing coach, they ask you, what is your why? And the
Mm.
why is always twofold. A why relates to your mission, and
Mm.
also a why relates to your personal life.
Yeah.
And I think that most women ultimately want to bring good to the world in whatever shape or form by being a strategist or a coach or a healer or a therapist, whilst also reaching a better work-life balance for themselves and their family. But when it comes to the mission why, as dramatic as it may sound, my hope is that by what I say and what I write and what I bring to the world, ultimately, one woman, one person, but let's say one woman, leaves a toxic relationship in time. So she is safe and able to heal. And that is a big mission.
Mm.
And obviously, hopefully it will speak to many people, and there will be more than one woman who reaches that point. But that, if I can sense that energetically, she need not reach out to me in any way. If I can sense that, then the whole journey of writing the book, which has been a healing journey,
Mm.
um, and overcoming, I think that what we all have, the visibility fears and the fear of the reactions that you might encounter, will have been worth it.
Yeah.
And it also gives a different meaning, so to speak, to my experiences. These were not that nice, and I cannot undo them. But maybe by shining a different light on it, or shining a light on it, for starters, I may help someone else. And that truly changes the tone of my story. Um, so, my story in short, when I was born, my parents were in their 40s. They already had two sons. They didn't, plan on me.
Okay.
Um, so I think that my storyline from a young age on was, I was an accident. I was not meant to be here.
Okay.
They divorced when I was almost 4, which was a sort of tipping point for my mother, who had, dealt with a lot of trauma. She's 92 now, but she was there in World War II, so she's seen things and heard things that are, you know,
Yeah.
hard to deal with. And the
Yeah.
divorce was a tipping point for her, in which she basically had a nervous breakdown. So that brought about a lot of insecurity. And when I went to school, to primary school,
Mm.
um, children as a herd, they sense your insecurities.
Yes.
So I was bullied,
Yeah.
that didn't, help me feel safe or wanted or loved. So that's how I entered my teenage years,
Mm.
with a sort of damaged self-image. Um, and when I ventured out into relationships, I
Yeah.
think I was an easy prey,
Mm.
for toxic guys or narcissists. But I prefer sort of toxic guys, because narcissism
Yeah.
is a very specific psychological
Yes.
disorder, whilst
Yes.
toxicity can take many shapes or forms.
Definitely.
Um, so I was an easy prey. When I encountered what I could refer to as the first him in the book, as the
Mm-hmm.
book is called, Try Him at Home, and I ultimately refer to 3 uh, sort of toxic archetypes.
Yeah.
Um, it was very easy for him to play with my perception of relationships. I entered, the world of relationships thinking that uh, if a guy would cheat on a woman, it was like in a situation of my parents who've been together for 25 years. There's been a life-changing event. In this case, the birth of a child that nobody had planned for, and sort of you venture out in separate ways, which led to a divorce. Ultimately, that turned out not to be the full story of my parents, but that was what I had been taught from an early age on. So when I ended up in a relationship with a womanizer, it was
Okay.
very easy for him to do away with everything that I was sensing and feeling and seeing. There was a lot of betrayal going on at such a large scale that I couldn't imagine. And it was very easy for him to play the, yeah, but that's because your father cheated on your mother card. He made me believe that. He made my friends believe that. And my sort of inner system, my spirit, my soul was in overdrive. I had the weirdest dreams about him taking money out of the ATM to go out with other women. Ultimately, that was what happened.
Yeah.
Um, but I started to believe that I was going totally crazy, because there was a lot of seemingly love and attention. He was a cheerful guy, a sociable guy. A
Yep.
lot of people liked
Yep.
him. So, they made me believe that he was such a good catch. Aren't you
Yes.
happy now, Sandra? Uh, and I really thought it was me,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
because they are so quickly to say, you mistrust me because nothing to do with me. I'm a good guy, but you mistrust me because of your father, or something that you saw on the telly, or they can throw 1,000 excuses at you. Um, Ultimately, when I found him in
Mm.
bed, with another woman after a foreign trip that I had taken, it was quite clear that I had not gone nuts, but it was painful nonetheless.
I'm sure.
So that relationship ended. I then found,
How long were you in that relationship?
I think, about a year and a half.
Right.
Um, he moved in quite sudden, because that's also a sort of warning sign. If you meet a guy and they move very fast with
Mm,
respect to wanting to move in with you, or even proposing, or um, as you know, even if you take a step back, taking up all of your time. If you meet a guy and you want to go out with him, but he wants to see you the next day and the next day and the next day, sort of preventing you from staying in touch with your friends and your family and in your regular social life, that's a sure sign that something is off. They don't really allow a normal, slow relationship build-up. It's like from 0 to 100 miles in 2 seconds. That's a
mm-hmm.
sure sign you're dealing with a toxic guy. So once I got out of it, I did meet a lovely, wonderful, reliable guy who became my first husband. But having been so accustomed to drama in early life and also drama in that relationship, I could not value normal behavior and a stable relationship as much as I should have.
Yeah.
I sort of labeled it as boring
Mhm.
instead of normal
Yes.
and nurturing and healthy,
Yeah.
because we're so good. And it's not just, even if you did not have a weird startup, in your youth, even if you come from a stable family, you you just look at any given storyline, a fairy tale, or any sort of film. There is
Mm.
always, when it comes to romance, there's always a huge amount of drama. There's a huge amount of having to fight for a guy, a huge amount of the good girl ultimately winning. So you wanting to be the good girl, you wanting to please. There is
Yeah.
still, I think, in any given culture, a big need for little girls to please. That's, I think, that we're globally we're taught, be a good
Yes.
girl, be nice,
Yes.
please your family, please your friends, and ultimately also please the men. So that's what we aim to do,
Mm.
to extend that we uh, do not respect our boundaries. I don't think that, you know globally women are taught normal boundaries from early age
Yes.
on, and
Yes.
and it starts to show, in relationships. And then if you encounter a guy who truly respects your boundaries and respects you and wants to give you a loving and stable
Mm.
life, you think he's boring. You don't get it. You don't know how to ease into that.
Yeah.
And then self-sabotage kicks in, and in one way or another, you sort of make sure that the relationship does not end.
Yeah.
Does not last, and it ends. And when it ends, you have this hurt and you have this guilt. And with this hurt and guilt, it's very easy for another toxic guy to enter your world and to name you and blame you and shame you for whatever you
Yes.
already feel so guilty about. They sense it, they get it out of you, and then they hit you, with verbal abuse for starters, with it every single day. And it's
Yes.
like, you were such a bad woman. You should be happy that, I want to
You.
be with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Me being the great catch, you having low values, you having no respect for yourself.
Nobody
But I'm still here
wants
for
you.
you.
Yeah. And you should be lucky that I am with you or I'm giving you time. And
Yeah.
that's the psychological conditioning that you go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It truly is conditioning. If you see what I endured with the second him who then entered my life, which is what I refer to as the right out abuser.
Mm.
Um, it is a sort of reprogramming, if not to say brainwashing.
Mm.
Um, Truly is. They play with your perception. They play with your mind. as you would see, there are those guys like Dynamo and other illusionists. They
Mm-hmm.
play perception, and they do it well, and hopefully they only do it on stage, because it is manipulation,
Yes,
and
it is.
and toxic guys like any other type of hustler,
Mm-hmm.
they use similar techniques. You start to really question your reality. If you live with someone
Yes.
who tells you that the sky is green
Yeah.
since day 40 times a day, there comes a point that you truly believe that the sky is green.
Yes. Yes.
Also, because he becomes sort of your one source of information. They isolate you. You have
Yes.
little contact with friends and family. At the
Mm.
beginning, you're so drunk with love because they give you the attention and everything is good and you do fun things and you're out and about all the time. You're living the dream. Um, so, first
They
you,
know
you
how
don't
to be
need.
charming. They know how to be charming, right? And
Oh, yeah.
and I guess that codependent in the woman just loves that attention and things so special.
They do know how to play into your feminine side. I think that for many women in the corporate world, uh, you can only sort of succeed if you're almost like an alpha male. On the work floor, you sort of do away with anything feminine in order
Mm.
to be like the guys, to be with the guys, to beat the guys in the game, in the corporate game. So when you meet someone who plays into your soft side, your feminine side, makes you feel attractive, makes you feel wanted, gets you to dress up nicely, you feel like you're in this fairy tale, and there he is, the Prince Charming, and they do it so well because for most of these guys, it is their livelihood. They eat off you. You work,
Yeah.
they play.
Yeah.
So they're very good at it. It's like very good actors, so to speak,
Yeah.
because that's how they go ahead. That is how they survive. That is what they live off. They live off you.
Feed on your
Well,
yeah. Feed on your, I guess, insecurity and your um, everything. I mean, it may helps them to grow stronger.
yeah,
The weaker you get, the stronger they feel. Yeah,
yeah,
right?
and for them, it's a very strategic game. They absolutely know what they are doing. They absolutely know the kind of woman that is susceptible to this kind of relationship. It's someone who is hurt. It's someone who has insecurities. It's someone who has shame, or someone who feels guilty. So it's very easy for them to play into that. So
Yeah.
at the beginning, when you're love struck and everything is fine, you have little need for your friends and family. But by the time when in a normal relationship, you grow from the in love part towards more the love part, the more stable part, the calmer part of relationship, in which there is room again for others, for your friends and your family, which is a natural transition.
Yeah.
By then, um, they have isolated you to the point that you do not
Yes.
reach out anymore. So it's just, you and them, and they are the only ones feeding you that information to the
Yeah.
point like
That's
the sky is green. And you start to believe it because
yes.
there are so many scientific experiments on brainwashing
Yes.
and techniques like that. Um, it does not take that long
Yeah.
to reset someone's brain.
Yes.
It goes so fast, and they do it in such a subtle way. As I always say, if you were to meet someone and
Hmm.
within the first 10 minutes he were to call you names, tell you not to hang out with your friend, or even hit you, you'd be out of there.
Yeah.
But it's so subtle. They don't go like that as of day one. They're not stupid. They
No.
reel you in. It's like the itsy bitsy spider thing.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're a fly in the web. Or,
That's right.
as I describe it, they're more like a boa constrictor. And
Yeah.
that, first you have a bit of space, and before you know it,
Yeah.
you're suffocated. So
Yeah.
it's a subtle game, nasty game. and because of your experiences, or like I said, the general upbringing of women that makes us want to please beyond our natural boundaries, um, you're locked in. And when you're locked in and starting to realize what is happening to you, there is so much shame. Because how could your
Yeah.
friends know you as an independent woman, a strong woman? You're still sort of doing fine at,
Mm,
at, at your career, so you have success in the office. How could that be happening to you? Because you don't know any other professional woman that this is happening to. You've seen abuse situations in either documentaries or movies, but not with respect to professional women. And like I said, in the beginning of the interview, it happens to all kinds of women. It doesn't matter where you live, what your job is, what age you are.
mm,
It makes no difference whatsoever. Also, the perpetrators, they come from all walks of life. We've had cases in the Netherlands where a judge killed his wife after a great number of years, him being toxic to her. So it's everywhere. I mean, we only have to look at United States and see who they are ruled by now and what
mm,
kind of guy that is. Yeah, you can see it happening. You can see
yeah.
it happening even at the highest level. So, but you still, as you don't know any other example, you
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
how can this? I'm a lawyer. How can someone hit me in the face?
Yeah. Yeah. You it's like you'll end up living two lives yourself. You show a different front of being a strong woman at work, and at home I can just imagine. I mean, you feel like you are so stupid. You're made to feel like you're totally worthless and no good. You feel like you're an empty shell. You know,
True.
at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always refer to it as the duality of abuse. You have two faces. There's a face in the office and there's a
Mm,
face at home.
yeah.
And where in the office you still, pretend to be the same and you go through the motions and you do your thing. Uh, I also uh, one of the side projects that I want to encounter, and I've done some interviews. I want to educate employers, especially those of professional women, because there are signs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Someone from outside calling a person on her mobile all the time. Someone who used to work late for projects, having to leave the office at 5:30. Um, Someone calling in sick
Mm-hmm.
more often because often you just have bruises that you can't show. So there are sure signs that they are just not aware of. So once the book is out there, it's a sort of starting tool for a larger project
Mm-hmm.
to aid employers to see the signs and to offer sort of anonymous help to women that they can venture out in the office to do it. Because at home, it's like, the movie Enemy of the State. They control your every move. They control your mobile, they control your laptop, they control your phone calls, they control any kind of contact that you have. So the one sort of window of a bit of freedom is when you're at work. And if
Mm-hmm.
they were to have a standalone computer that would have resources to aid organizations or any other kind of tools that you could access as a professional woman, it would be wonderful. It would have helped me because when I ventured out speaking about this, about my wish for employers to aid, a former colleague of mine said, "We worked so closely together
Mm-hmm.
every single day, and I had no clue because you were as nice and cheerful and assisting and accessible as you always were." And I'm just thinking, could I have seen it? Could I have known? I said, only if you've been truly trained to. I said, because it's so, we hide it so well
Yeah.
because of the shame,
Yeah.
because we're thinking, what if my employer would know?
Yeah.
Would they fine me? And then you're really, I'm not going to say the word, but then you're really in trouble because then you would have no means of income and be stuck with the guy all the time. So there is a huge amount of shame,
Yeah.
and then usually in all the storylines that I know, not just mine but others, there is truly like a life-threatening event that opens up the possibility of help, that opens up the possibility of escape. Because if like myself, you end up in a hospital, there is a sort of public situation that can ultimately aid you. I'm just wishing for more women to dare to speak up and get out, to realize that they're not alone and that there is no shame in getting help before they end up in a hospital or worse. Um, because
You, you know,
it
Sandra, I have noticed that, despite knowing that you are being manipulated or you are in a relationship where you are playing this kind of duality, uh, you still end up trusting that guy again and again and again. You know, the
it's
moment they
a
start sweet talking or they start going back to their charming self, you fall for it again, you know, and you feel, oh, maybe there is change. Maybe I imagined it. And that conditioning kicks in, you know, that maybe you are imagining the whole thing. Maybe he's not like that. Right? Isn't that what happens?
you hang on to the goodness of the start of the relationship,
Hmm.
in which they paint a picture of them being nice,
Yeah.
them being trustworthy. So you hang on to it.
Hmm.
So there is this hope and aspiration. There is this huge amount of shame,
Hmm.
and there is their very subtle techniques. And I think those three elements can keep you stuck for too long. And what I'm trying to do is at least shine a light on the shame,
Mm-hmm.
um, to hopefully reach women and that they can think, hey, there's other professional women who
Hmm.
went through it, dare to speak up, and that they come to realize that at least that part of the story need not hold them from leaving. But it's not easy because there is this cycle of tension building, and then there is uh, either a huge fight, physical, with physical abuse or not. And then what they call refer as the honeymoon state, in which they are sorry and they do whatever they did in the beginning, so you have a bit of hope again. So for most who got out, you hardly get out
Yeah.
after the first sign. And that is dangerous, but also normal. As you describe it, you hang on and you hang on and you hang on. And let's be honest, there are at times economic reasons or child related reasons
Hmm.
that do not make it that easy to take that
Hmm.
step.
Right.
But
Yeah.
in most countries, there is a lot of aid available that can
Yeah.
help women
Hmm.
design sort of an escape plan with
Yeah.
every aspect, also legal aspect, custody aspects, financial aspects, planned before you take that move.
Yeah.
It's hardly a, oh gosh, now I get out and be done with it. It took me a long time and many rounds
Yeah.
of going back to
Yeah.
the abuser to
Yeah.
finally reach what I refer to as the light
Yeah.
bulb moment
Yeah.
and get out. It can
Yeah.
take a long time, and nobody should feel bad about leaving and
Yeah.
going back, because it, the the thing is, if you talk to family or friends about it, they
Yeah.
say, leave him
Yeah.
after the first hit, leave him after the first whatever, leave him. Um, because if you've not been in a relationship like this yourself, you truly don't understand the dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy to say, I would have, but you
Yeah.
don't know until you've been in it. So there's the thing, you've dared to open up to your best friend. She said, you should leave. You try, but you don't have all the elements in place yet to really make it a permanent,
Mm.
way out.
Mm.
And then you go back to him, and then
Mm.
your friend is upset, and then your friend doesn't want to talk to you anymore, and then your friend also tells you that you're stupid. But the thing is, somebody is telling you that you're stupid like
Oh,
day
that,
and night, and the friend means well. The friend really does. So a huge part of my messaging is also going to be, if
mm.
luckily you are not this woman, but you
Mm.
think that your friend is, or you think that your colleague is, or you think that your sister is,
Mm.
this is what you can do best. A friend of mine
Mm.
um, assisted a family member recently, And she says, I was able to overcome my first inkling of getting the family member out of there with whatever means possible and
Mm-hmm.
guiding them
Mm-hmm.
to a more solid solution because of everything that you've shown me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just for the women, it's also for people who guess that they know a woman who is
Mm-hmm.
being abused.
Yeah.
What are the best steps to aid? And it's like with children. You see a dangerous situation, you just want to grab them,
Mm.
and oftentimes that's the best thing to do. But afterwards, you have to guide them to come
Mm.
up to that solution themselves.
Yeah.
And it's the same with people who are being abused.
Mm.
If you sense it,
Yeah.
be open, be there,
Mm.
keep the communication going, swallow
Mm.
swallow what comes to you naturally, like get out, because you don't want that person to be hurt. So
Yeah.
you love that person, you want to shout get out. um, but that, alas, is not the most helpful.
Yeah.
I also encounter women who go through a situation that I've been in,
Mm.
and as much as I also want to shout to them, I try to look at it from what would have aided me
Mm.
and keep the conversation as open as I can,
Mm.
and not giving answers, but asking questions.
Right.
Asking
Right.
questions without any judgment on the answer.
Yeah.
Because
The most.
a
Yeah.
question repeated often enough can
Mm.
help reset this really brainwashed brain.
Yeah.
But even for me, I've gone through it. It is tough. If I see a woman and I know that she's suffering, it
Mm.
is bloody tough not to just say, out now.
Yeah. And I guess it's more difficult for women who have children in that relationship because
It
the
is
control
extremely
becomes
difficult.
worse. Yes, you can't leave the children are is something that is used, you know, to stop you from moving out or or doing anything. You just
Uh,
stuck.
uh, yeah, a lot of women are not economically independent, and
Yes.
there is many legal systems which make it very hard for a single woman to have like custody over their children. I mean, I live in the Netherlands, and I was sort of blessed enough that I always had a house to my name
Mm.
and a full-time job, so I've always been sort of financially independent. I've also
Mm.
been truly financially drained by all these guys because of this wonderful independence. But when
Mm.
I ultimately was ready, truly ready for it to end for good, I
Mm.
had my house, I
Mm.
had my salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I truly understand it's not the same for all women. Not even in the Netherlands. There's many women in the Netherlands who are not economically independent. So it's not always an easy step to take.
Mm.
But all I want to show to women is that you are not alone, even if you can't move out now. What can we do for you to feel safe? What kind of plans can we have in place? What kind of aid do you know is accessible to you where you are right
Mm.
now if things get really bad? Sometimes you need maybe years to plan, and not every toxic relationship is physically violent, which is
Right.
not to say that ultimately the physical violence is worse than any other kind of violence.
Yeah.
Emotional violence, verbal abuse truly hurt. But when it comes
Yes.
to bare survival chances,
Mm.
um, if you are living with a guy who is just emotionally um, um, not
Abusive.
well, emotionally abusive, but like with my third him, he was a cocaine addict. They're just
Okay.
not available to you. They have a relationship with their addiction. You try to have a relationship with them. He was not physically abusive,
Mm-hmm.
but it was toxic nonetheless.
Yeah.
So if you are not, you and your children are not physically at
Mm.
in peril, there is time to, with a great number of advisors, aid you towards the exit. But a lot of women cannot just
Mm.
jump ship. There
Yeah.
is no safety net with respect to finance. There's no safety net with respect to custody. But at least what I try to take away is the
Mm,
idea that they're the only one that this is happening to. That they're the
mm,
only one in the world, the only sort of professional, high achieving, successful woman that this has happened to. Because
mm,
that is not true. I also would love to take away the layers of shame. You have
mm,
nothing to be ashamed of. You were drawn to a certain dynamic, be it from through your childhood or the general conditioning on the whole princess fairy tale, be good, pleasing girl that led you to it.
yeah.
Um, Ultimately, the other party, the guy, 100% responsible for the way he acts towards you. Even
Yeah.
if you're drawn to a certain kind of guy because of
Yeah.
whatever happened in your past,
Mm,
he still is 100% responsible for the way he treats you. Do not ever, in that respect, feel that you brought it upon yourself or that you deserved it. Nobody should ever, ever, ever call his partner names, steal from his partner, um, uh, hit his partner, or in a worst case scenario, try to kill his partner. There is no excuse. And that in that kind, that step, get over the shame. That's where I hopefully can play a part, but also make known to a lot of women where in their part of the world they can find aid to make a step
yes.
plan.
It is
Because
difficult in certain countries, in certain, in Asia especially, it's very difficult for women to just uh, walk out or even to mention that something like this is happening, because in a lot of Asian cultures it's considered as the husband's right. It's almost
yeah,
like they own the woman,
yeah,
the woman has no right to say anything, so they just stay in that relationship. They don't have an exit. They don't have a choice to exit out, you know. It's so sad. And the second relationship you mentioned, how long were you in that relationship?
that lasted for about 3.5, 4 years altogether.
Right.
Uh, Before when we met, when we moved in, when the physical violence started, when the physical violence got to a point that he tried to kill me, he
Mm,
ended up in jail. I even got back with him after that. Was I was made, yeah, he made me feel guilty for having put him there. And he had two children, which were not my biological children. But
mm,
he played, you said earlier in the interview, the kids card. The
yeah,
girls miss you. Are you not thinking about the girls, the girls, the girls, the girls? Even though they were not biologically my children, I had a good relationship with them.
yeah.
Tried to protect them as well.
Mm,
So that was a huge playing card.
mm,
And so we faced the murder attack. We faced problems with the law because of stupidities that he went into. He ended up in jail, and he even from there made me feel guilty. So I returned to him. And then a few months in, because you would think, what makes you leave? When is the light bulb moment? Is this not enough? Is any
mm,
of this not enough? Weirdly, it wasn't. But here's the, well, almost funny light bulb story. We're sitting together on the sofa with his youngest daughter. His eldest was abroad, and it's a story. Queen Latifah played the lead part, and she thinks that she's terminally ill, and she has one wish to go to the Czech Republic, Prague, and have dinner in a fancy restaurant because there is the one chef that she admires.
mm,
She sets out on her journey, and she goes to this wonderful luxury 5, 6, 7-star hotel. And then he says to me, if we're ever in better shape, especially financially, because I ended up in a huge debt because of this guy, and I mean huge, um, then we could go there. And then all of a sudden, the light bulb, boom. I thought to myself, if I ever want to do better in my life, you have to go. And it was like, maybe it's like the universe opened up and there was this calmness.
mm,
this no doubt whatsoever, this is it feeling that came upon me that evening, and the next day I ended it, and that was the end of it.
So what you are saying is that despite after the fact that he tried to kill you, you landed up in the hospital, he went to jail, you still got back together after all of that.
Well, I ended up in the hospital,
Mm.
and he ultimately ended up in jail. Uh, but yeah, we still got back together, because the shame and the guilt, what he pulled on me, like I'm in jail because of you. What do you think this is doing to my girls? And you feel bad about that. You feel bad about girls crying. You feel bad about a lot of things. But ultimately, I'm sort of grateful that uh, I truly got to end it myself. That it weren't circumstances, external circumstances, like him being in jail,
Mm.
um, that that ended it. Now I could really make that choice,
Yeah.
um, and really be free. There
And
was
you're
not anything else that made me, do that.
right. And you're a lawyer, right?
I'm a lawyer.
And you were working as a lawyer and all this was going on with you.
Yeah, I was working
So,
as a lawyer.
so
All of this was going on with me.
I guess this is something for the viewers, for women who are watching, that it doesn't matter. Even someone who's a lawyer in the legal field can also be going through this. I
It
mean, it's
truly,
just.
yeah. And I'm not the only lawyer. I know of more lawyers. I
Mm,
know of doctors. I know of entrepreneurs, coaches, therapists. Obviously, I also know about women who are like hairdressers who work in a shop. I know about women who clean houses, and for me,
mm,
every profession is
mm,
as valuable as the other.
yeah.
I come from a sort of a non legal family. I come from a working class family.
Mm,
My current partner is a mechanic.
mm,
Um, for me, all professions have equal value. So, but there is this stigma, that it doesn't happen to professional women. And there's
yeah.
also a stigma that it doesn't happen by professional men.
Yeah.
But
And
it
like,
does because
yeah, that's right. And that's what I am doing with my work as well. That no matter what you are doing, no matter which level you are at in your life, whether at work or in your personal life, the only thing that binds us all together, there's something that we all share, is being a woman. We do share certain experiences and certain life journeys. There's some overlap. It's not just you, it's not about your success, it's about being a woman and what
it
your life is as a woman. That's
is.
the most important part here. And it's
And
so
I'm
amazing.
so proud of you that you are working on this wonderful platform, on this wonderful movement, even
Yeah.
to empower women, women of
Thank
all walks of life, women of all countries, women of all color,
Yeah.
because I think empowering women is so important.
Yes.
From an early age on. That's why my general brand is Dare to Displease.
Hmm.
If only we would teach uh, young girls
Hmm.
to trust their gut, because you know, but
Yeah.
you choose to ignore it.
Not. Yeah.
To trust your gut, to set healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
and um, to feel safe in a stable relationship,
Hmm.
to not seek the drama.
Yeah.
Real love has nothing to do with drama.
Yeah.
Control has to do with drama. But we see all these soap series that we have in every culture. There is always drama and stuff. That has nothing to do with love. That has to do with lust and infatuation and control. But true love is a is different altogether.
Is it?
True
Yeah.
love is not a fairy tale. I'm not
No.
saying that we never fight verbally, obviously, because we do. But there is more a disagreement um, than a right out attack on your personality.
Yeah.
Everybody can have a disagreement, even verbally. I mean, we're all human. But
Yeah.
even then, you can show each other respect.
Yes.
I can
That's
raise my voice,
yes.
but
Yes.
not call names.
Yes. The respect is the most important thing in any relationship. Respect.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's the key thing missing in these toxic relationships. Yeah.
yeah, there is no respect whatsoever, and ultimately, it's about what you are doing. Empower women to respect themselves.
Yeah. And you are doing an amazing, what you are doing is amazing as well. I mean, like I mentioned to you when I saw your post about your book on Facebook, I just had to, have you here and talk about this because I have seen so much of abuse. I've seen so many women being abused, and it's just sucks, if I may say that, you know.
It absolutely sucks. And it has taken me a great number of years to be able to put my story on paper. The last relationship with the cocaine addict ended in 2011. We had a child together. He left to live
Mm,
abroad where my child was one. My child now
mm,
has found the perfect father in my partner. So in that respect, all is well. But we're talking 9 years ago after the last toxic guy left my life. And for all women, uh, process your story, heal your story. Um, and I've taken now a big step by writing the book, but there are many ways that you can aid other women and empower other women
yeah.
without
Yeah.
opening up. Nobody, I have a Facebook group, which is also called Dare to
Yeah.
Displease. Everybody
Yeah.
is free to share a story, but nobody will ever be forced to.
Yeah.
Just by being there or just by being there for another woman in your life, aiding another woman in your life,
Space. Holding
you,
space.
yeah, you holding space, you can do it from the heart. You need not do it from the voice, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is my path. And I mean, now, like I said, I've healed. I'm in a very stable situation. Feel free to speak, but there are many ways that you can help. It's not like I'm sharing and you should be sharing. Also in the Facebook group, you see in many Facebook groups, like maybe for business strategy or whatever. Hi, and why are you here? This is not how I greet people in my Facebook group. I would love to know about the person. Where do
Hmm.
you live? What do you do professionally? What do you enjoy doing? Do you have children? But I will never ask any of the women in there,
Hmm.
what is your toxic story that brought you here?
Yeah. Yeah. Of
So
course.
it's a safe space. It's a closed space. Uh, I hope to grow the group, but nobody should ever feel forced to speak. Just be there, and with whatever you hear, if you learn, there are so many ways that you can aid others.
Sandra, before we leave, could you please give my viewers some information that, where can they reach out? Where can they get help? Or what your Facebook group, what's the name? Or if they need to reach out to you, if they're in a toxic relationship themselves and they just need to reach out and get some help or some assistance, where can they find that? Could you?
They can. I
Yeah.
think the best means of communication for now, that is where the most content is going to be, at least up to the launch of the book and a bit onwards, is a Facebook page which is called Dare to Displease. Do not try him at home. If you look at Do Not Try him at home, you will find it. And
Mm-hmm.
there is also there a link to the Facebook group.
Okay.
And obviously, on the page, there is an opportunity to send me a direct message.
Okay.
Some women have done, and I've reached out to them through the page.
Okay.
And you can always, also look me up on my personal profile. It's a public profile on Facebook, and you can send me a message there. And whenever people reach out to me, I always keep it private because it's a
Yeah.
private matter.
It's a very, yes, personal, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really hope and wish that if there is any woman or man also who's watching
Yes.
this and going through a relationship which is toxic, that they can reach out to you and they find some sort of assistance or some, I don't know what's the word to use, just having someone who understands and uh, be there without giving any sort of advice or judging. Sometimes the advice is like, don't tell me what to do because you're not in my shoes. I mean,
Indeed. Like you said, it's about holding space, it's about empowering, because both on the page and in the group, we discuss the cycle of toxicity, but we also discuss sort of after life ways of rebuilding trust, rebuilding confidence, mindset,
mhm,
energy. It's all there, uh, because obviously the story does not end
yeah,
the moment the story ends.
yeah,
Then there is a new you,
yeah,
equally valuable you, but someone with a lot of experiences. And then there is processing and healing, which
mm,
we want to aid you with as well. And ultimately, I think you've chosen the best word. It's about empowerment.
thank you so much. And thank you so much, Sandra. I think I could just keep talking with you because you have so much of you're giving so much insight, and it's just so wonderful talking to you. But unfortunately, we've been talking for almost an hour.
Have we now? It's been a true honor and a true
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
And hopefully, maybe later in the year, I would love to come back and tell people how the journey is after the book and the reactions and
Yes,
what
yes, of course.
what
I would
reactions
love to
I've
have you
I've
back. Yes.
getting on the book. I would love to. But for now,
Thank
thank you ever
thank
so much.
you so much. Thank you so much. And I would like to let my viewers know that my channel is called We Now Hub on YouTube, and please subscribe to my channel because I really would like to reach out to more women and bring women like Sandra. I mean, there's so many women out there who are doing so much of inspirational work, and they're out there to assist and motivate women into being a new you, into a transformed you, empowered you. So please do subscribe to my channel. And if you do wish to be a guest on my channel, please email me at wenowhub@gmail.com, and I would really, really love you to reach out to me. And so that's all from me. Thank you so much again, Sandra, and wish you very, very much
Thank
good luck with your book. I'm sure it's going to be a super success.
thank you. It's been a joy.
Thank you so much. Bye.